Of course, my background was as an activist in Amnesty International, nationally in Norway and in the international board. I had been traveling myself as a young man in Latin America. I've seen the persecution of many small groups and many vulnerable communities. Coming back, I was really captivated by the idea we need to be able to give small grants to the frontline communities. So there had to be an umbrella organization helping to do that. And I went then to all of my friends in the Norwegian church, in the Norwegian trade unions, in Amnesty International, and at the university, at the Human Rights Center. And they all say yes to this initiative of setting up such a fund for the frontline organizations.
And many of them are still with us today as member organizations.
I'm happy and proud, actually. I'm impressed that 4 decades on from this initiative has grown to become a very important tool for the very front lines of humanity that we wanted to help. The idea was also flexibility and swiftness. It had to be fast, unbureaucratic. So of course there has also to be a minimum of risk here, and there has to be a minimum of being courageous. I mean, of course, this taxpayer money, much of it, has to be audited. But there cannot be a lot of bureaucracy when you help frontline organizations that are working under extreme circumstances.
So today we support around 150 human rights organizations around the world. I think I would say that we're now a truly global actor in the ecosystem of support to human rights defenders and human rights organizations.
Of course, we were before our time in many ways, because the big theme of the day is localization. It shouldn't be the international northern, western organizations coming as saviors for communities in great turmoil. It should be their own organizations helping their own people.
I think you're touching on something that now is really a defining feature of the NHRF. It's our support to local organizations that often work in contexts of high risk in areas with limited access to justice, and this persistent stigmatization that many human rights defenders work under. And I think we absolutely agree that these grassroots organizations that are often formed and started by the people in the communities that have experienced human rights abuses are the best placed to know what to do. But we see that when they receive support, they are able to have impact. They're able to strengthen their resilience. They're able to push forward the social change, and they know how to do it. And Colombia is an important country, both in your life, I think, and in our history. Among our priority countries, it stands out, also because it's by far now our biggest program.
I came straight out of high school in Norway at the age of 18 and wanted to really see for myself what was happening in Latin America. This was after the military coup in Chile, in Argentina, when there was persecution and military dictatorships all over Latin America, but also a struggle for justice. So I was able to get a half a year with a Catholic relief organization, social justice organization called El Minuto de Dios in Colombia. I was able to be in the mountains where communities were in the middle of the guerrilla army warfare. And I saw all of these fantastic self-defense groups for human rights, the community-based groups, the groups of the indigenous people. And I was absolutely taken by their struggle. which led me into Amnesty, which led me into the Red Cross, which led me into work with the trade unionists and the churches, and the idea of the fund in 1988.
So today's situation, to end there, I think we're seeing two trends now when it comes to challenges to human rights work, and particularly the local organizations, but also the whole human rights system. There's a decline in respect for democracy and human rights on the one hand, and then there are major donors who have decided to cut their aid funding, including the funding to human rights. So the good thing in this, and what gives us hope, is that we see that people refuse to give up.
Maintain this original culture of being flexible, fast, unbureaucratic, for and with the front lines of humanity. There is a danger in all of this work, and I've seen that within human rights organizations, humanitarian organizations, peace organizations, reconciliation organizations, that becomes more and more an academic seminar, really. We have to be among the people, with the people, and support them to survive, really, and to be effective and efficient, and be able to defend themselves and their communities against the horrors of men with guns and violence and power. So what I hope, my advice is, resist the attempt to be a studies organization that sort of documents what's happening on the front lines. It's the actual support for these organizations that is very often lacking, and it's often relatively small sums, really.
And I absolutely think that this conversation has shown me something that I already knew, that the reasoning behind the fund in these 40 years has remained very much the same. It is to support locally led agendas, to support that belief that people in their own communities knows best what to do, but that they also need the solidarity and support from us in order to be able to do it.
There's a lot to do.
Absolutely, there is. Thanks so much.
Thank you.